Tony could possibly be a fight in the future. When you think about the future now after the Khabib fight, what are you thinking? Are you thinking about just rest, let the dust settle, and then look at the landscape? Like how does he approach it now?
I might, but he doesn't.
What does he
He's
think?
screaming and shouting for the rematch within minutes.
It's hard to push for that rematch though after that fight, right?
Sure, no, I understand the logic of that. You know, Tony's kind of earned and stuff, but I also understand this is a business, and it would be a huge fight. You know, the rematch would be a huge fight.
Don't you think that it would be difficult to sell because of how dominant Khabib was in that fight?
Sure. I do think the round 3 showed promise. Like I said, I would have liked to have changed things up a little bit, specifically a more offensive mindset. I thought defensively we did quite well, but offensively we weren't really where we usually are. And you know, right when the fight was over, I was thinking, you know what, I was kind of going into this like not to lose, but not to win. You know, and his shots weren't as crisp as they normally are. He had opportunities to hit him, especially in the 3rd round, and he just seemed to be the range or the touch. Something was off.
Do you think how much of it had to do with the fact that he hadn't fought MMA in 2 years?
Absolutely. You know,
had to, right?
Yeah, of course. And we tried to mimic it as close as we could in the gym, and I brought in guys that he didn't know, and I would say this is fight day, and he would do with George exactly what he's going to do on fight day, and we'd have a referee, and so to get the fight feel, but it's still in the gym with your mates. You know,
is he at a position now where every fight has to be a gigantic super fight, and is that a problem? In that, you know what I thought after the fight, after it was all over, I was like, you know what a good fight would be him versus Pettis. Like that would be a really good fight. And it would be a really interesting fight in terms of stylistic matchup, and it would be a great fight, I think, for Conor to sort of just get a wild 3-round, or even, I guess it would probably be a main event. It would be 5 rounds, but it would be a wild fight that would probably favor him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the boxing, you know, when Tyson Fury was kind of coming back, they gave him you know, not the toughest guy in the world.
That shit doesn't happen in MMA.
But it doesn't happen in MMA.
Well, it doesn't happen in the UFC.
Specifically the UFC.
Specifically. And there's an issue with that, I think.
Yeah, you know, he was... you know, at his early stages, he was fighting all the time. And as is natural, as you get older and as you achieve more, it is going to start becoming, you know, once or twice a year. Right. That's just a natural progression of an athlete. I don't care who you are.
But the wild fights that he could have at 155 pounds, whether it's James Vick or Justin Gaethje or Pettis, or there's good fights for him that aren't necessarily Khabib, they aren't necessarily Tony Ferguson, but they're a good fight to get that timing back, get everything locked in, you know.
100%, but you have to factor in his personality. And he's only fighting now for fights that are really interesting to him. He's not that interested in anybody. Not that I've heard.
Floyd Mayweather paper.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem. All that money.
Right. So, you know, what more can he, you know, even with his spending, what more can he buy?
The idea would be the eye on the future and the eye on the rematch. You know, like getting everything dialed in so that when he does have a rematch with Khabib, he is samurai sword sharp.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
As opposed to having 2 years off, one boxing fight in between them, and then such a grappling heavy contest.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That would be a trainer, you know, for me as a trainer, that would be the ideal.
But it would be hard to motivate him for that.
I think it would be hard to motivate him, and it's not the, you know, it's not really the UFC model. It was obvious it was going to be those, you know what I mean? It was going to be those two.
But if anybody could tell the UFC what time it is, it's Conor.
Khabib time.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody is the guy that can say, hey, this is what I want a fucking tune-up fight. I want a tough guy.
He absolutely could.
Yeah.
And he absolutely wouldn't. You know, it was like when he lost the Diaz one fight.
Yeah.
And backstage, he was screaming and shouting at all the top brass about getting the rematch at 170 as quick as possible. I'm in the background going, "No, please don't." Did you not see that fight? He's a terrifying individual.
Right.
Let's get a 155 fight, and you know, okay, maybe you meet him again, but he was not letting that go. And you know, 4 months later, he fought the exact same guy.
And that's where he is right now with Khabib.
That's all I'm hearing from these.
Yeah. Well, listen, you could